When you first install Affinity and open it, you will be greeted with this type of interface. Of course, you won't have a picture in the middle, but everything else will be similar to this. You will have different sections that you can use as is or customize. You have at first the menu bar on top where you have the different menus, and each menu will have sub-menu and more sub-menus. Then you have here the studios. By default, you have 4 studios showing. Each of the first 3 studios correspond to the previous apps in version 2. So the Vector Studio will correspond to the Affinity Designer. The Pixel Studio corresponds to Affinity Photo, and Layout Studio will correspond to Affinity Publisher. Each of those studios have slightly different tools. So think of those studios like toolboxes where you have different tools. There's also Canva AI, and this is a studio that includes tools that are only accessible if you have a premium subscription to Canva. If you don't, those tools won't be available. You also have the Tools panel where all the tools are available. So when you change studios, you can see the different tools. Then you have the Context toolbar, and the Context toolbar will include various settings specific to the individual tools that you select. So if you select the eraser brush, these are the settings you will get. If you choose the pen tool, you can see how the settings are going to be different. Then you have the right panel group where different panels are available. By default, when you open it, you'll have the color panel, layers panel, brushes panels, and styles panels. But there are so many more panels that you can add. You can combine them and really customize your workspace. At the bottom, you will also have the status bar. This will include some tool tips that you can use, some modifiers you can use to execute some changes or perform some operations on your project. So those are the main areas. And you can customize your interface in different ways. First, you might want to change the color of the interface. In the previous version, you were able to have a light and a dark mode. In version 3, you only have a dark mode, but you can do some tweaking anyways. So let's go under Edit, Settings, and go to User Interface. If you like a lighter version of the interface, maybe you don't like the dark one, you can increase the UI brightness. It's not as light as the light interface in version 2, but it is better, especially if the dark interface hurts your eye. You can also choose the color behind your photo. So in the workspace itself, you can change that gray level. If you want something more standard, you can right-click inside of that area and choose these colors. So you can have black, you can have dark gray, medium gray, light gray, or white. It's really up to you, or you can use the slider to change that. Another area here that you can customize is beside the studio. These are some settings that come by default, but you might want to have some more, or you might want to get rid of some. For example, in my case, I don't need the camera information, so I could get rid of it, giving me more space for other tools and commands. For that, I can right-click and do Customize Toolbar. This will bring me a dialog window where I can actually change the tools, the toolbar, and the panels. But let's take care of the toolbar. Right now, this setting or this tool with the information about the camera, I don't need it. So I can just click and drag it into the workspace so it will vanish. On the other hand, maybe I want to use something for aligning. Maybe I do a lot of work that use some alignments. In that case, I can use the whole section and put it up here. Or I can remove that. Maybe I do a lot of layering, so arranging my layers would be convenient to have at one click. Or if I do a lot of selection with vectors, I can use the Boolean operations. It's really up to you what you want to set in the toolbar here, as it will be a custom version for you. You can also change the tools on the left side. So for example, in my monitor, I find that I always have that little double arrow, meaning I don't have room for all the tools, but I can change that for using it in 2 columns. The same thing, if I like some tools that are usually in a different studio, I can get that tool and move it into the Pixel Studio. For example, I kind of like the place command, so I can just scroll down or I can search. So if I want to go to place, so the place tool I can click and move it here. Another tool that I like is the frame tool. The frame tool is actually something that is available in the layout panel, but I can use it with the pixel. But I can use it in the Pixel Studio. So I'll take the rectangular tool and also the ellipse frame tool. Why not? I'll have them both. And the same thing for the panels. There are so many panels available, whether it's something with your assets that you want, appearance, which is going to be useful for text, characters also for text, etc. You can just turn them on. And once you have it, you can dock your panel into another one. If you don't want it anymore, you can simply go to the arrow and close this panel. You can always get it back anytime you want. Another little detail that you might want to add to your workspace is the ruler. Rulers will help you get a sense of the size of your element. So for example, if you are doing scrapbooking, you might be working on a 3600 by 3600 pixels image, but when you open an element, whether it's a button, a pin, a flower, it's not always obvious what size it is if you just look at it, because you could zoom in and out. But with the ruler, it will give you at least an idea of the dimension of that element compared to your full-size scrapbook page. And once you are happy with your own custom studio, it could be a good idea to save it. Beside the studios, you have the Studio Manager, and there are other studios you could use, but you can create your own. And so you can call it My Own, and you can make it a clone from either the pixel or the vector. So I was using the pixel, and I can give it a color. Maybe I want it yellow, and choose an icon if I want. I don't have to, but maybe I want to have something of my own. Maybe I'll put the A. Now I find that yellow is a little too bright. I don't see the icon. So now I have the icon here. I can create it. As you can see, I have my own studio. So now it's your turn. You can customize your interface so you can work more efficiently in Affinity. Have fun!